Okay, welcome back, dear viewers. We are going to once again go into a deep dive of Lamentations of the Flame Princess. We've gone through the main rule book, and we're essentially at the end going through the magic. And I wanted to give this summon spell its own video because it is a very unique and powerful spell. Something I haven't really seen anything like it in a lot of OSR publications. Um, so let's get started. Um, I think it's the most powerful spell in Lamentations of the Flame Princess. In fact, it is. It just is. And I think it might actually be probably to be the most powerful spell in all of the OSR. And I make a bold claim because I think I can defend it. So what we're going to do, we'll walk through how this works, the spell works, and then we're going to compare it to the mightiest spell available to wizards, the Wish spell. Um, well, I don't know. You can let me know in the comments below if I'm out to lunch or not. So basically, the summon spell is it's 9 pages long, 10 if you include the cool art. Okay, I'm not kidding you when I say this is a very involved spell. There are charts, descriptions. It's kind of crunchy, but hopefully when you see through this video, you'll when you get through it, it won't be so crunchy that it's unplayable. In fact, I don't think that at all. It's just if you cast it in the middle of a game session is going to take a stop for a second as tables and charts are consulted. It's a level 1 spell, and the duration is dependent upon what happens, as we will see, and has a 10-foot range. Why they even bother put a range in is kind of beyond me, but there you go. Um, what I think is really cool about this spell and makes me sort of feel like um, it should have gotten its own chapter rather than just be, you know, plugged into the middle of a spell description section is that the very first paragraph of the description of the spell actually explains what magic users are doing just generally whenever they cast a spell. And I think this is a how do I want to put this? This actually adds more to the explanation of what happens and what's going on with a magic user or an elf in Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Um, they are literally toying with the fundamental order structure of reality to do stuff, and that's why they're chaotic. If they were lawful, they wouldn't be messing with things, you know. Um, and then paragraph 2, we get a description of what summon does, right? So, um, yeah, maybe this should have its own chapter. There are steps, 5 of them, that need to be sort of very methodically moved through once the spell is declared to be cast. As you can see, caster chooses the intent power level of the summon entity. There's a saving throw, and then the charts get consulted to determine the entity's form, its powers, and then there's a domination roll to see who's actually in control. Okay, you may be seeing where I'm going with this at this point. So step 1, caster chooses how powerful the summoned creature will be. That's expressed in terms of hit dice. Generally, the maximum is 2 times the caster's level. However, that can be modified by thaumaturgic circles and sacrifices. At the back of the spell description, you have thaumaturgic circles and sacrifices explained. I think I would have rather seen that underneath step 1, but it is what it is. I quote a sentence in this section because I found it to be interesting. The use of thaumaturgic circles and offering sacrifices while casting the spell makes the portal between more interesting. To the creature summoned, killing things and drawing circles in blood, it's kind of, I guess it's just an interesting thing for otherworldly entities. But it also makes them numbs the consciousness of those creatures to make them easily controlled. So there's a formula to summon greater things and give yourself bonuses on the domination roll here. Okay, so for every 2 hit dice of sacrifices, you get a +1 on the domination roll. If the sacrifice is of the same race, you get it's only the calculation is 1 hit die for per bonus. The victim must be helpless and slain for this purpose, so you can't be in the middle of combat and just use those deaths to count towards your sacrifices. Thaumaturgic circles are magical diagrams or mathematical equations used to focus magical energy. The materials used are crucial to communicating their information to the summoned creatures, so it's very expensive. For every 500 silver piece worth of materials, you get a +1 bonus on your roll, and the materials are used up once you summon, complete the summoning ritual and casting. All right, step 2. The caster must make a saving throw versus magic. Failing the save means something more powerful is coming through. This will have dire consequences. Going through this spell for you guys today has made me very nervous about introducing it into my current game because I have a player who will cast it. I know he will. But yes, it's things get wild if the magic user fails that save. All right, step 3. This is where we start getting into the crunch. Okay. Creatures' forms and powers will be randomly determined on a series of tables. You're given some default stats to start with. AC 12, 1 attack for 1d6 damage, 120-foot ground movement with a morale of 10. If the save was made from step 2, you roll a 1d12 on the form tables, okay? If not, you roll a 1d20, okay? Each entry from the roll has additional entries. So, for example, if you roll a 1 or 2, there's 3 more entries. So you roll a d3, and you might summon something that looks like an amoeba, a balloon, or just coagulated blood or something, okay? Once you go beyond number 12, you're getting into the realm of the weird and ultra powerful, like antimatter, flowing colors, shadow. So this is where you're getting into really creepy stuff. The antimatter one in particular, if it comes in contact with anything material, there is an explosion that does d6 damage per hit die of the being. Okay. A roll of 20 results in something abstract coming through the portal, such as the collective unconscious desire for suicide. At this point, you may have seen some images with little blurbs underneath them. I took the abstract things that you can summon, plugged them into Midjourney just to see what kind of images it would come up with. There's a few that I couldn't because of banned words like suicide, child death. There was another one, lust. Yeah, so things get interesting when you roll that 20. But let's go back to the additional features and what this thing looks like that you've summoned. So with the exception of the abstract form, so if you roll a 20, you consult another chart. Okay, everything else you keep rolling. So there's a chart that provides a base die that you will use based on the hit die you summon. So for example, if you have a 1 hit die creature, the die type you're going to use is a d4. Okay, so then you roll that. That gives you your base number. You then roll again. If less than the first number, that you roll on the appendage table, and you keep doing that again until you roll equal to or greater than your base die. So for example, you have a 1 hit die creature you summon, you roll a 1d4, you get a 3. Then you roll a 2, then a roll a 1, and then a roll a 3. Therefore there's 2 appendages. Okay. The appendages table has a list of adjectives and nouns that you will randomly determine to figure out what this thing has. So you could have like beautiful gossamer wings, or slimy tentacles, or skeletal mandibles and claws. It kind of reminds me of like the gibbering mouth or concept from Dungeons and Dragons. Like you could have something really bizarre at the end of the day. And obviously, higher the hit die, the higher that die type you're going to use. So like a D20, I mean, you could have a lot. This thing could look just completely bizarre, and weird and horrifying. So once the appendages have been taken care of, it's time to determine powers. Again, do the exact same thing with the appendages. You figure out the base die, and you start rolling numbers. It's a little different here though, because if your magic save versus magic was successful in step 2, and you roll less than the base number, there's a special power, and you roll again until you roll equal to or greater. So again, one hit die creature, roll a 1d4, get a 2, roll a 1, then a 3, therefore there is 1 power. Okay. However, if the saving throw is a failure, the number of powers is determined by an equal to or less than the base number. Okay. Before it was just less, now it's equal to or less. So if the base number is 2 and you roll a 1, a 2, and then a 3, you now have 2 powers. Whereas if you had made your save, you'd only have 1 power. Okay. Once you're done, figure out how many powers there are. There's a D100 table for powers, and it can be anything from an increase in AC to bonus damage, immunities, spell-like abilities, vulnerabilities, and special attacks. One such AC bonus roll was like plus 2d6. So it is entirely possible that you summon something that's going to be very difficult to strike. Okay, it's very possible you summon something that's going to be able to do a significant amount of damage, or do some serious strangeness in terms of like spell-like abilities. So everything from shooting webs to polymorph attacks, and then the vulnerabilities are kind of cool too, like vulnerability to electricity or something. But yeah, that's how you determine powers. Now, the abstract entities, you will roll on a separate table, and they have their own abilities and powers. The entity is going to be lethal to the party, to those around the party, and probably the world. It will drive your party crazy. I have here one of them, and I picked it because it's the most abstract. It's the most abstract one in the book. Imaginary equation, incorrect yet true. Make have is the two and of them meaning numbers, power order no sufficient no. I mean, you can see where this is going. Let's just skip down to the bottom, because I do want to talk about this. Clerics retain faculties, keeps time slipping, must kill the stalwart stabilitist to stabilize, kill until it is dead, first to next sleep dies as brain flees. So aside from some of the crazy stuff in the middle of that paragraph, what's happening to your players, it looks like clerics aren't going to be affected, okay, because they're lawful. I think that's my guess. But it also looks like everyone wants to kill the cleric to get everything back to normal. So do you see where I'm going with this? You really don't want to roll a 20. Okay, you really don't. All right, so step 5. This is the domination. The domination roll. So you roll. There's going to be 2 1d20 rolls. One on behalf of the caster, the other on behalf of the summoned entity. The caster's level, thaumaturgic circle modifiers, and sacrifice modifiers are added to the caster's roll. The creature's hit die are added to its roll, as well as a +1 for every power it has. Okay. If the magic user wins, the margin of victory will determine how many rounds the creature will be under the caster's control. So we summoned our 1 hit die creature with 2 powers, and it rolls a 12 plus 3, total of 15. Our 3rd level caster with a circle rolls a 12 plus 4 equals 16. Thus, I roll a 1d10, and that's how many rounds the caster can keep it around. If there was a margin of 5, it'd be 5d10. Okay. Magic users got to concentrate the entire time to control the creature. If the concentration is broken, there must be another domination roll. This doesn't extend the time, it only confirms the original roll. And then once the time is up, the creature goes back to where it came from. If the magic user wins by a great margin, rolls equal to or greater than 5 plus the creature's hit die and powers. The magic user can demand greater service. No need for concentration. This is a bargain between the magic user and the creature, and the length of service must be clearly stated. So this is where you're going to have to get a little creative with the game master here. If the magic user wins by 19 or more, a greater margin, I think is what it's called, the creature is bound permanently and under complete control of the caster without need for concentration. This is where things get kind of fun. So if the magic user fails the domination roll, the creature will attempt to kill all living creatures while it is stable in this reality for a number of rounds equal to 1d10 per point of the margin of victory. Kind of like what I discussed before, right? So if we just flip the numbers around, our third level magic user summoned a one hit die creature that he lost control of for 1d10 rounds. That creature will try to kill everything in the room. Okay. If the summoned creature wins by a great margin, equal to or greater than 5 plus the magic user's hit die, plus sacrifices, plus circle bonus, the caster is completely at the mercy of the creature, mind, body, and soul, and you roll a d6 and consult the table. My favorite one is the one I'm showing you. Basically, the creature is not at all interested in being in reality, nor does it care about anyone present. However, it is supremely vexed at being called through the veil by a piece of meat. It will take one of the caster's comrades as compensation. The caster must choose one of his fellow player characters, and then the character will simply cease to be. If the caster delays or chooses anyone else other than a player character, then all the player characters in the area will be winked out of existence, and the caster will be left alone. So not only do you not want to roll that 20 and summon an abstract entity, you really don't want to lose your domination roll. Okay. Okay, so if the creature wins the roll by 19 or more, or double a great margin, it must make a 1d20 roll. On a 1 through 19, it is empowered by energy from its own dimension and multiplies its hit die by 1d4 plus 1. You then re-roll all powers using the new HD hit die to determine the base type die and just give it new powers, and then it goes on a killing rampage. Okay, so let's say hypothetically our one hit die creature could now all of a sudden become a 5 hit die creature, have some more powers, and the entire party and whatever else is in the room is in trouble. Okay, if a 20 is rolled, the barrier between realities is sundered and innumerable monstrosities begin dropping through. Hundreds of them will come through in the first hour, then about 100 a day for the next week, then just a few each day. All will be hostile, as their passage to this world is accidental, and our reality will be unfamiliar and unpleasant to their sensibilities. So not only do you not want to roll a 20 when determining the form, and not only do you not want to lose the domination roll, you really don't want to lose the domination roll if the thing is this powerful. Okay. If the domination roll is a tie, then roll again. Okay, but this time the caster uses only a 1d12 and loses the bonuses from the Thaumaturgic circles and sacrifices. The d20 roll for the creature and bonuses remain the same. So you really want to succeed on the first try. Okay. Obviously, but there's notes in the book. But obviously, I mean, we're talking OSR here, so this should be implicit, right? But the referee is free to design specific tables, take stuff out, add stuff in, whatever they want to do. There can be summon spells for specific beings, but they will be first level. They must be researched as if they were a level equal to the summoned creature's hit die and number of powers. So the game master wanted to create like a special demonic entity. They could use the charts to come up with whatever they wanted, right? And then have, Beelzebub, right? And then have that be a specific summon spell. And the Beelzebub has 6 hit die with 7 powers. Then you're going to be researching that spell as if it's a 13th level spell. Okay? It's going to be very complicated, in other words. But there you go. Okay, so That's summon. That's summon in a nutshell. Um, but let's discuss wish. Okay, 'cause wish is like the big one, right? Especially if you were playing a long time ago, you really wanted that spell. I'm looking at wish from the For Golden Glory retro clone of Second Edition D&D by Justin Brown. Not trying to pick on him. For Golden Glory is a fun game. It's a good retro clone. If you like Second Edition, and I just pick that up. It's got everything you need in it. Um, but that's where I'm getting my wish information from. So it's a 9th level spell, allows the caster to alter reality to better suit him. And the spell description is about a page, a little less than a page, and gives you examples of things you can do. Increase someone's attribute, change their race, duplicate spell effects, remove racial restrictions, create magic items, remove like massive major curses, things like that. And you can do even more powerful things. But the spell description tells you, that they should be commensurate with what's already been sort of listed. Okay. But doing so, trying to do something beyond that, I should say, can get the attention of divine beings. Doesn't really explain what that means. And then you lose 3 strength points for 2 to 4 days. And then, of course, regardless of what you're doing, caster's going to grow old with each casting of the wish. At the end of the day, this is really how the wish is manifested and what it does mechanically, and I guess story-wise too, is ultimately a discussion between the referee and the player. And as we all know, for those of you who've been playing for a while, your game master is going to really take literally your wish spell, however you formulate it. So, and that's always the challenge. But at the end of the day, it is a discussion between the referee and player, almost as if you're coming up with your own spell, right? So, well, when I compare that to summon, I don't think wish is all that big of a deal. It's a spell that's ultimately rooted in game mechanics. That's just going to try to get a couple extra bonuses or whatever on some roll. Don't get me wrong, that we want that, we like that, but summon is a little bit more than that. I think a lot more than that. On the one hand, okay, this is really more comparing it to other summon spells, but mechanically it just isn't a series of monsters that are being summoned like woodland creatures or orcs or hobgoblins or other adventurers or something like that. You're summoning something from the realm of chaos, and it could be anything, and that is very consistent with the worldview and the magical, the take on magic that Lamentations envisions. Unique, horrifying, and deadly things are coming through that rift in reality. It's a very seductive thing to do too. I mean, it's first level compared to this 9th level spell. I submit to you the reason why summon is the most powerful spell in the OSR is because it could go horribly wrong real quick. And magic is seductive, and it should be scary, it should be deadly, there should be sacrifice to power, and this spell encourages your players to do so. I mean, slaves are cheap, just pick up some slaves, bring them back to your your tower or your hidden temple or whatever, and start sacrificing them to summon something big. Think about it. It takes about 2,500 XP, right, to get to 2nd level. Your 1st level magic user survives the first foray into whatever dungeon, right, comes back with 700 silver pieces. Not enough to get to 2nd level, but enough to create a summoning circle and purchase some slaves. And now your magic user might end up with like a demonic buddy to go on the next adventure. And if the magic user screws up, fails their save, could be summoning something much, much worse. Unlike Wish, which is a negotiation, and this is the big point here. Unlike which is a negotiation between the referee and the magic user, summon is out of everyone's hands the moment it's cast. The game master can't do anything about it. The player can't do anything about it. You're just gonna start making rolls. The player can prep, right? They can get the silver pieces to build and create the circles, get the sacrifices, and do everything they can to sort of secure their power and dominion over whatever it is they summon. But if the roll goes wrong, something horrible is coming out, and it can destroy campaigns. It can alter referees' precious homebrew rule, if not outright destroy it. The abstract idea of world underwater, for example. Just think, the flood, the biblical flood. Just think that. Okay. While wish, I mean, you could probably wish to say, well, I wish the campaign is ended, you know. But the referee can the referee still has control over that. The referee can interpret that however they want. Referee really can't interpret a die roll when all you're doing is rolling a die and consulting a chart. So, I don't know. That's my spiel on that. I think summon is the most powerful spell in the whole OSR because it can destroy a campaign by a simple die roll or series of die rolls, and I don't know of any other spell that can do that. So there you have it, and that's it. If you like what I'm doing, please hit like and subscribe and the bell icon, yada yada yada. I'm gonna have a one shot in a couple weeks of Kelvin Green's Midwinter. I'm still doing my Lamentations of Elemental Evil campaign on Thursday nights, and starting next year, I'm going to be doing some more things with this channel, possibly another campaign, but that's what this channel is about. I play games and then I talk about them. This isn't flip through review stuff. When I talk about something, it's because I'm using it, and I can tell you how I used it, and I can show you how I use it, and whether or not it's actually useful. Okay, but that's it for me, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and happy gaming.